A great night to one and all. Welcome to the September 2023 Licensure Examination for Teachers or Let Review for Mathematics majors. At this juncture, we will be discussing the answers to the 40 items for our mid-review, namely items 121 all the way until 160. So we are hoping and praying that everything is all set, our papers, our pencils, our answer sheets. And of course, as usual, we will set the passing score at 50%. That is, if you got 50%, if you got 20 on or above, then you passed. But if not, then at least we know that there's still avenue for improvement. So with that said, I hope we are all ready. And let us now be reminded that for our directions, we have to shade the letter of the correct answer. And if the correct answer is not found among the set of choices, we have to shade letter E. All right. Let's proceed to item number 121. Two unbiased dice, numbered 1 to 6, are rolled. How many outcomes have a sum of at least 10? Did you go for A, 3, B, 4, C, 5, or D, 6? Please comment your answer in our chat box. Good evening din po. According to Sir Chad, letter D daw for number 121. How about the others? Okay. So is it really letter D? So there are many ways to answer this question. And I think one of the ways is by listing. And there, if you could see in our chat, Sir Chad provided the list. No? So when we say at least 10, so your sum here could either be 10 or higher than 10. If you add up to 10, so the following options are possible. It's either when we say 4, 6, it means the first die show 4 and the second die show 6. So we will have this notation for this one. You could also have 5, 5, or you could have 6, 4. And I believe we have exhausted everything to those that add up to 10. Why? We cannot have 3, 7. Because although a die has 3, but it has no 7. And these are the only possibilities. You could also have a number, a sum that is 11. And for you to get a sum of 11, it's either you have 5, 6 or 6, 5. And for a sum of 12, there's only one, which is 6, 6. Take note that the maximum sum is just 12 because the highest sum is just 6 plus 6, which is 12. We cannot have a sum of 13 onwards. And if you could see here, there are 6 outcomes that add up to at least 10. So if you answered letter D, sorry for that. If you answered letter D, great job. You got it right. So we have at least 3, no? We have Sir Chad, Sir Efren, and Sir Crispin. Thank you so much po. Umiyo. Sorry for that. Item 122. Which of the following results to an even number? Is it A? The following results to an even number except A, the sum of an odd and an even number. B, the product of an odd and even number. C, the product of 2 even numbers. Or D, the sum of 2 odd numbers. For number 122, we have A coming from various people. Let's see, tama nga ba si A? So, If in this case, no, if you will add an odd number and an even number, say 3 and 8, it will give you an answer of 11, which is in this case odd. The rest of the choices actually produces even numbers. So it's letter A. So if you wish now, if you multiply an even and an odd number, say 2 times 3, 6, it's even. If you multiply two even numbers, say 4 times 8, 32, it's still even. And I'm sure that D is also even. In fact, lagi po nating tandaan, supposing the numbers that we are multiplying are non-zero, if there is a presence of at least one even number, then we are sure that the product will always be even no matter gaano kadami yung odd numbers natin. Hence, the correct answer is letter A, indeed. Congratulations sa lahat ng sumagot ng letter A. I'm proud of you. Pasado na kayo sa let niya. Let's do this. Let's claim it. 123. What's the LCM of 12x squared y to the fifth and 16x y to the seventh? Did you go for 48x squared y squared, 48x y to the fifth, 48x cubed y to the 12th, and 192x squared y to the seventh? Let's see your answers. And I can help to see or notice that you answered letter A. So let's explore that. Now, we know po that the LCM of 12 and 16 is 48. I think that's not a problem. But how about for the variables? For example, between x squared and x, what is the LCM? Between y to the fifth and y to the seventh, what's the LCM? So in general, if I give you variables, the same variables, but raised to different exponents, ano po ba yung LCM? Is it the smallest exponent? Or is it the highest exponent? All right. According to Sir Chad and Ma'am Nurse, I do agree with that. No? Kinukuha or pinipick po natin yung pinakamataas na exponent sa kanilang lahat. And that's why, kung ang lowest exponent naman po, yan po yung para sa GCM. So, dahil LCM, the LCM of x squared and x is x squared because x squared has a higher exponent than x. And of course, for the LCM of y to the fifth and y to the seventh, we have to pick the one with a larger exponent, which is y to the seventh. And multiplying 48x squared and y to the seventh gives us the LCM of the two x terms, which is 48x squared y to the seventh. Letter A. Congratulations to everyone who answered letter A. Let's move on dahil kailangan nating mag-move on to item number 124. Consider the product of 20 integers except 0. If their product is negative, how many negative integers could be on the list? Is it 14, 16, 18, or 19? Okay. Okay, marami po atang sumagot ng D. Bakit kaya D? So are you telling us na pwedeng 19 odd numbers? Hindi pwedeng 14, 16, or 18 odd numbers? And I do agree again with Sir Chad, no, sa ating GC po, sa ating chat. Sabi ni Sir Chad, if you have negative k raised to n will be odd for all odd numbers n. Okay. And that is actually correct. Will be negative. Yeah, that's correct po. That's why I also agree with that. And that if you are given factors, the product of integers is negative if there are odd number of negative factors. That's why if we consider the product of 20 integers except 0, and if we will utilize the choices, we could see that 19 is the only odd number among them. And if 14, 16, and 18 are even numbers, for example, if we take the case of letter A, if there are 14 negative numbers, which means there are 6. And if you multiply those 14 negative numbers, it will still be a positive quantity. That's why the same thing is true for B and for C. We go with letter D, 19 of them. All right, so far so good. 125. The volume of a cube is x cubed minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8. Which of the following could be the length of one of its edges? Did you go for x plus 1, x minus 2, x plus 4, or x minus 4? Okay. Could somebody please tell us po, if the length of an edge of a cube is s, how do we get the volume? Ano po yung formula sa pagkuha ng volume? I-comment po sa ating chat yung formula sa pagkuha ng volume. Sir Chad commented S cube, and that is actually correct. So it's like the problem is asking, which of the following choices, when cubed, becomes x cubed minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8? And of course, if we use the rational root theorem, or if you try cubing na lang po, no, yung lahat sila, we are sure and I need to apologize because in this case pala, mali siguro yung nakopya ko. It should be the volume of a rectangular prism, not a cubed. So please kindly correct na lang po, no, yung ating given. And if you could see from here, by the rational root theorem, yung L over F, and if you try out using synthetic division, or you could do your own long division, it's up to you, or say you utilize the remainder theorem or the factor theorem, that's still correct. You could actually see that x cubed minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8 is equal to the product of x minus 1, x plus 2, and x minus 4. So in this case, it's actually letter D, x minus 4. However, since we saw something, an error in one of the terms used, so let's just have item number 125 as a bonus. So my apologies. Okay, thank you. So bonus question. 126. What's the sum of all the prime number factors of 1,872? Okay, letter A daw, 18. Sabi ni Sir Chad, ni Sir Jason. Okay, paki-comment nga po. Ano po ba yung mga prime number factors ng 1,872? What are those? What are those prime number factors? 2, 3, 13 daw. Let's see if that's correct. And if we have the prime factorization of 1,872, I do agree with Sir Chat that it could be expressed as 2 to the 4th times 3 squared times 13. But just like Ma'am Nurse and Sir Chat, nakasaad po kasi sa problem, sum lang ng prime number factors. So kahit ilang beses siyang nakalagay dyan, we still have to choose only one of them even though they are repeated. So the prime factors of this number are 2, 3, and 13. And since we're looking for their sum, so 2 plus 3 plus 13 gives us 18. Indeed, letter A. Salamat po sa lahat ng nag-comment. And tandaan po natin, okay, wala po akong saying. 127. How many natural numbers less than 100 are relatively prime when 100? Is it 40, 41, 43, or 44? Kapag sinabi po nating relatively prime po, that number, when we say relatively prime with 100, meaning to say that number and 100 have a greatest common factor of 1. So GCF po nila dapat ay 1. Okay. So sabi po ni Sir Chad, phi or phi function daw. Okay, sabi ni Sir Jerome, wala lang, tumawa lang siya. Okay, and let's see. No? And take note, for example po, if I give you the number 1, 1 and 100 are relatively prime because the GCF of 1 and 100 is 1. However, the number 2 is not relatively prime with 100 because the GCF of 2 and 100 is 2. So kung relatively prime siya, dapat 1 lang talaga yung GCF nila. If their GCF is any natural number except 1, then they are not relatively prime. And so I agree with Sir Chad. No? In number theory, we have what we call phi function or sa iba phi yung pagbasa. First and foremost, what we have to do is take the prime factorization of 100 po, which is actually 2 squared times 5 squared. And so yung prime factors ito lang yung kailangan natin. And the prime factors are 2 and 5. And meron po tayong theorem sa phi or phi of n. No? That is, phi of n is equal to the number itself multiplied by 1 minus 1 over p raised to sub 1 times 1 minus 1 over p sub 2 and so on until 1 minus all over p sub r, where p sub 1, p sub 2, p sub 3, all the way until p sub r are the distinct prime numbers. Take note ha, distinct prime numbers. Kahit ilan pa yung exponent niyan, dapat yung prime number lang yung kukunin mo and you don't place the exponents of the prime numbers here. So what are the prime numbers here? It's 2 and the prime number factors are 2 and 5. Your n is of course 100. And by substitution, we have phi of 100. It's equal to 100 times the quantity 1 minus 1 over 2 because 2 here is the first prime factor times the quantity 1 minus 1 over 5 because 5 is the other prime factor. We stop there because there are no other prime factors except 2 and 5. And using our calculators to simplify this, P of 100 is actually 40. So letter A. So kung ililista mo po lahat, 1, 3, lahat ng natural numbers less than 100, na yung GCF niya with 100 is dapat 1. These are 1, 3, 7, 9, 11, and so on until 99. I'm sure you will list 40 numbers. So sa lahat po ng sumagot ng A, tama naman po kayo. Salamat. 128. For all natural numbers greater than or equal to 0, and if n is equal to k times k plus 1 times k plus 2, is the product of 3 consecutive non-negative integers, then for some integer s greater than k, the natural number is divisible by a number of the form what? Is it s squared plus 1, s squared minus 1, c s squared minus 2, or d s squared plus 2? Siguro yung ginawa ng iba ay nag-trial and error sila. Wala pong masama doon. Now, I will teach you how to do this. So halimbawa, so n, the natural number n could be expressed as the factor of k, as a product of k, k plus 1, and k plus 2. In my case po, I let s to be equal to the middle number, which is k plus 1. Yun po yung ipinagbabawal na technique dito. So the middle number k plus 1, I represented it as s. Then, if we do this one, k is actually, by manipulating this, could be expressed as s minus 1. And k plus 2 is actually s plus 1. If you do the manipulation po. And if you could see, I copy the middle number here as s. And if I multiply the first and the third, the s minus 1 and the s plus 1, you will actually come up with this binomial s squared minus 1. And if you could see, s squared minus 1 is a factor of this n, which means to say that since s squared minus 1 is a factor of n, then we could see or say that this natural number n is divisible by a number of the form s squared minus 1. That's why sa lahat po ng sumagot ng B, be happy because you got it correctly. Congratulations. Kung hindi, at least learning experience po. I hope nakuha natin. 129. Let AM, GN, GM be the positive arithmetic and geometric means of two positive numbers. Which of the following is true? Is it AM greater than or equal to GM? What do you think? Is it GM greater than or equal to AM greater than GM, or GM less than AM? Okay, letter A. And may pa-bonus po tayo, sabi ni Sir Chad, yung AM, GM inequality, which I also agree. Okay, it's okay lang po, Sir Francisco. Push natin to. Okay? And I agree, no? Because in algebra, meron po tayong tinatawag na AM-GM inequality. That is, if you are given the arithmetic mean, if you have two non-negative numbers, their arithmetic mean is of the form, if these two numbers are A and B, the arithmetic mean is A plus B all over 2. And the geometric mean is the square root of AB. No? And tandaan po natin that the arithmetic mean is always greater than or equal to your geometric mean. The geometric mean can never be larger than the arithmetic mean. So letter A naman po yung tamang sagot. You can actually verify it po, no? Choose any two positive values, for example, for A and B, at kahit anong gawin mo, greater than or equal talaga yung arithmetic mean sa geometric mean. The arithmetic mean and geometric mean could only be equal if A and B are equal. But if A and B, or if the two numbers are different, expect po na mas malaki yung arithmetic mean than the geometric mean. 130. A perfect number is defined as any positive integer where the sum of its divisors, except the number itself, equals the number. Which of the following is a perfect number? Did you go for 20, 25, 28, or 36? Okay. Sagot ni Sir Chad, ni Ma'am Nurse, ni Sir Jason, ni Sir Crispin ay 28 daw. Naniniwala ho ba kayo sa forever? I mean, naniniwala ho ba kayo sa sagot na 28? Check po natin. Okay, sabi ni Ma'am Jessa, si rin daw. Let's have the positive factors of 28, except itself, diba? So if you multiply these numbers, of course, we will be listing all the divisors of 28 except itself lang. So we have 1. Pwede siyang 1 times 28, 2 times 14, 4 times 7. But of course, sabi sa problem, if possible, omit itself, diba? Omit itself. So the positive factors of 28 except itself are 1, 2, 4, 7, and 14. And if you add all of them, you will get actually 28. And thus, we can say that 28 is a perfect number. In fact, 28 is the second perfect number. What's the first perfect number? The first perfect number is the first perfect number is not 28. 28 is the second. The first perfect number is actually 6. Thank you po for Sir Chan. Okay, 6 po yung first perfect number. Thank you din po, Ma'am Nurse. Letter C, ang tamang sagot. Push po natin po mga kaguro. 131. What's the largest power of 2 that divides 20 factorial? Did you go for 17, 18, 19, 20, or so on? So again, this is an example of a classic number theory problem, no? Involving powers and of course involving factorials. Meron po tayong theorem actually. So we could say that of course 2 raised to k divides 20 factorial. And if you divide 20 factorial by 2 raised to k, dapat walang remainder. So ano kaya yung pwedeng, yung pinakamalaking value ni k na integer at the same time? Legendrous, okay. Yung formula, no? Okay. So ito po yung ginamit natin. Same po ba, Sir Chad, yung ginawa natin? Yung technique po is kunin niyo po si 2 muna. So this is what we call, no, the ceiling function or the greatest integer function ata ito. Greatest integer function. So that's why yung 20 muna divided by 2 raised to first. Then plus the 20 divided by 2 squared, 2 cubed, 2 to the fourth, and so on. So when we speak about the greatest integer function po, no, if we simplify this is 2, 4, 8, 16, 25, and so on. So if you simplify each of this will be 10, 5, 2.5, 1.25, 0.625, and so on. But remember, when we define the greatest integer function, it is the integer that is less than or equal to the given integer. It cannot exceed the given integer. So, or yung isang ipinagbabawal na technique, if hindi naman talaga ipinagbabawal. If the number is an integer itself, if you express it in decimal format, if the number is an integer itself, the answer is an integer itself. That's why the greatest integer function of 10 is 10. 5 is 5 because they are already integers. However, if your answer is not an integer, let's say it's a decimal number, it's a positive decimal number, then all you have to do is drop the decimal part and just copy the whole number part. So the whole number part of 2.5 is 2. That of 1.25 is 1. But actually, you could continue this as much as you want. However, sure po tayo na starting pa lang dito, yung whole number part nito ay 0 na. So lahat na lang dito ng mga numbers, sure po tayo na ang whole number part nila ay 0. That's why it's just 10 plus 5 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 and so on. It's just 18. And thus, we could say that the largest power of 2 that divides 20 factorial is 18. Or we could also say that 2 raised 18 divides 20 factorial. Letter B. Wala pong masama sa panunood. Ang mahalaga po, natututo po tayo. Pero kung iwan ka niya, talikano pa rin siya, hindi ka na natuto. Char lang, biro lang po. 132. How many positive factors does 13,500 have? Is it 48, 49, 50, or 58? Wow. A yung sagot. Look. Nung mga nag-comment. Okay. A din, sabi ni Ma'am Jonah. Let's see kung tama kayo. I hope na hindi po nyo nilista ha. Kasi meron din po tayong property sa number theory na pwedeng gawin dito. That is, first and foremost, it's important that the number will be expressed in its prime factorization form. So 13,500 could be expressed as 2 squared times 3 cubed times 5 cubed. Tandaan po ha, mahalaga na ang base natin ay dapat prime number. Kung hindi prime number ang base, sorry to say, pero hindi po natin pwedeng gamitin yung shortcut na to. And yung technique next is, basta ha, tandaan niyo po, nakikita po naman ninyo siguro, 2, 3, and 5 are prime number bases. So what to do next is that lahat ng exponents ng prime base ay dadagdagan natin ng 1. 2 plus 1, 3. 3 plus 1, 4. 3 plus 1, 4. Then just get the products. 3 times 4 times 4. That gives you 48 factors. So letter A. I'm sure if you will list everything by hand, you will still arrive to 48. To all who answered 48, congratulations. But if not, it's still okay. 133. How many natural numbers below 97 are relatively prime to 97? B daw, 96 ang sabi ni Sir Chad, ni Ma'am Nurse, ni Sir Crispin. And if you answered B, by the way, is 97 a prime number or a composite number? Okay, tama. It's a prime number. And I do agree again with Sir Chad, our future top-notch, one of our future top-notchers. Let's claim it, Sir Chad. Tandaan po natin, if P is a prime number, then the phi of P is equal to P minus 1. In other words, since 97 is prime, so phi of 97 is equal to 97 minus 1, which is 96. So sure po tayo na starting from number 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way until 96 will be relatively prime with 97. Bakit ganun? Because remember, a prime number has only 2 factors, 1 and itself. That's why everything from 1 to 96 will have a GCF of 1 when paired with 97 because it's a prime. Letter B po. Okay, push natin to. 134. When simplified, 123 raised to 45 is it A, even, B, odd, C, both even and odd? Ay, grabe siya. Or D, neither even nor odd. Odd nga ba? B daw, odd. Let's see kung tama si odd. Baka even siya. Tignan natin. A, okay, may sumagot ng A which is even. Let's see kung sino ang tama sa atin. Or sa inyo. Tandaan po ninyo, take a look at your base. Your base here is 123. Your base is actually odd, right? Tama, yung base nyo ay odd. Ang tandaan po natin ha, meron po tayong theorem na nagsasabi, you could verify with smaller numbers. An odd natural number raised to any positive integer, regardless kung odd or even man yung exponent mo, basta yung base mo odd, you will always get an odd number. The correct answer is letter B. Halimbawa po, take a look po, example, yung base ko odd, say 9. Raise it to an even number, 9 squared, 81. 81 is odd. If 9 is raised to an odd number, 9 cubed, it gives you 729, which is still odd, right? That's why an odd natural number raised to any whole number or raised to any positive integer will always be odd. Also, in relation to that, if your base is even, an even natural number raised to any positive integer will always be even. So it's actually dictated by if by your base, if it is even or odd. Letter B. If you answered letter A, wala pong problema. Sige lang po. Yung mahalaga, laban lang, natututo po tayo. Next number. The expression. This expression, that one, means A divides B. Which of the following statements is false? Is it A, 8 divides 8, B, 7 divides 21, C, 21 divides 7, or D, 4 divides 16? Okay, I could see letter C. And when we say A divides B, it means A is a factor of B. You could also see that B is a multiple of A, or B has A as one of its divisors. That's why if you answered letter C, you are actually correct. 8 is a factor of 8. That's correct. 7 is a factor of 21. 4 is a factor of 16. But 21 is not a factor of 7. So C here is the correct answer. At least, C hula lang. At least tama si Sir Francisco. I'm proud of you. Sige lang po. Thank you. 136. The sum of 5 consecutive natural numbers is always divisible by what integer? Did you go for 2, 3, 5, or 7? Letter C daw. Let's see. You could actually verify this by making examples. But in my case, I'll use algebra. I let the 5 consecutive integers be x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, and x plus 4. And if you could see po, kung atin po silang i-add lahat, you will actually arrive to 5x plus 10, di po ba? And if you could see, ang 5x and 10 could be factored actually, di ba? Kasi 5x and 10 has a greatest common factor of 5. That's why factoring out 5, 5x divided by 5 is x. 10 divided by 5 is 2. That's why we have 5 times the quantity x plus 2. And if you could see, since 5 is a factor of this expression, then the sum of 5 consecutive natural numbers is always divisible by 5. Letter C. Tahimik lang ang beshi mo. Sige lang po. Remember, I firmly believe that there is wisdom in silence. Push po natin to. Okay. But at least if you don't know this method, just give any 5 consecutive natural numbers. Like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. It's 15. And 15 is divisible by 5. Okay. 137. What's the remainder when 3 raised to 50 is divided by 80? Did you go for 9, 10, 11, or 12? Okay. Bakit kaya tahimik lang beshi ko ngayon, Charla? Letter A daw. We will employ what we call modular arithmetic here. To do that, marami pong ways. Now, here's the thing. If 3 raised to 50 is divided by 80, you could actually transform it into its modular arithmetic format, no? Magiging 3 raised to 50 is congruent to blank mod 80. Yung divisor po natin, ito po yung mod natin. Tandaan po natin. So sabi ni Sir Chad, Euler's quotient daw, yes, marami pong paraan, no? Sa pagkuha ng sagot dito. Yung sa akin po, I'm looking for a natural number. That's, of course, if you divide by 80, dapat yung remainder mo mas mababa sa 80. So ang tanong ko po is, anong power ba ni 3? Anong power ni 3? Or anong number ang i-erase natin Sa anong number natin i-raise si 3 para malapit siya sa 80. At the same time, it will give you a smaller value or a smaller remainder. Anong number ang i-raise mo sa 3 para pag-divide mo ng 80, yung remainder ay maliit lang? Sabi ni Sir Jerome, 7 daw. Okay. Sabi ni Ma'am Michelle, 4. Try natin yung 4. 3 raised to 4 is? Ilan nga yung 3 raised to 4? 3 raised to 4 is 81. And if you divide 81 by 80, the remainder is just 1. So that's why I do agree with that, no? I raise both sides to 4. So 3 raised to 4 is equal, congruent to 3 raised to 4 then, which is 81, mod 80. I'll just copy the left-hand side to be 3 raised to 4. And yung isi-simplify lang po natin all throughout will be yung right-hand side. Kunin natin yung remainder. 81 divided by 80 will give you a remainder of 1. That's why 3 raised to 4 is congruent to 1 mod 80. Sunod. Bakit 1 or maganda kasi yung 1 or negative 1? And ano yung kinagandahan nun? Yung kinagandahan nun is, if you raised 1 to any exponent, it will still be 1. That's why, number ang i-raise mo sa 4, anong number ang i-multiply mo sa 4 na mas maliit sa 50, pero pinakamalapit sa 50? 12 daw, sabi ni Ma'am Michelle. Okay, discuss natin mamaya ni Sir Jerome. Thank you po for that. So that's why I will rate both sides now to 12. Take note, you are allowed to do any operation you like except multiplying both sides by 0. You are not also allowed to divide. No? As long as kung anong ginawa mo sa left, ganun din sa right. Kasi nga, kung anong ginawa mo sa kapwa mo sa kabila, ganun din yung gagawin sa'yo dito. Char lang. Okay. 3 to the 4th to the 12th will be 3 to the 48th. And 1 to the 12th is 1. And of course, to reach 3 raised to 50, we will multiply both sides by 3 squared. No? So that's why yung left-hand side magiging 3 raised to 50. 1 times 3 squared will be 1 times 9 or 9, mod 80. That's why I'm sure that this number is large. This large number, when divided by 80, will give you a remainder of 9. Letter A. Let's move on to item 138. A rectangle with length x and width y that are both natural numbers has an area of 64 square units. What is the minimum value of x plus y? Hugot pa more, Sir Chan. Sir Francisco, grabe siya. Okay. Is it 28, 24, 20, or 16? Letter D daw, 16. Let's see. Take note po natin, to have a minimum sum, x and y have to be as close as possible, or if possible, equal. The best choice for this is when both of them are actually equal with one another. That's why we wanted them to be both equal to 8, and that 8 plus 8 will actually give you 16. Letter D. Okay, AMGM daw ulit, sabi ni Sir Chan. Grabe siya. Okay, that's why, yes, no? Mas mahalaga, importante po na equal po sila as much as possible. Salamat po. In mathematics, what do you call an equation that is typically a polynomial equation in 2 or more unknowns with integer coefficients, such that the only solutions of interest are the integer ones? Diophantine, Pythagorean, Archimedean, or Platonian? If you answered Platonian, nako, baka kumakain kayo ngayon kasi may plato. Char lang. The correct answer is actually letter A. Diophantus was born in AD 201 in Alexandria, Egypt, and he is a Greek mathematician. No? A Diophantine equation is an equation in which only integer solutions are allowed. So, to everyone who answered A, push nyo yan. Tama po. 140. He was the very first person to prove Fermat's last theorem. Who is this person? Is he Andrew Wiles, Terence Tao, Magnus Carlsen, or Richard Dedekind? Okay, at least tumambling ka, Sir Francisco. Char lang. Kaya yan, sir. Push natin to. If you answered Terence Tao, I'm sorry, it's not. Although Terence Tao is considered as one of the brilliant mathematicians in the world, but it's not him. Magnus Carlsen is actually a very famous chess player. He used to be number one for many years. Richard Dedekind is famous for the concept of what we call Dedekind cut in your real analysis, for example. Andrew Wiles is a mathematician best known for proving Fermat's last theorem. This celebrated achievement arose out of his earlier work on the study of elliptic curves and has led to significant advances in the field of number theory. Letter A is the correct answer. All right. All right, let's proceed to item number 141. What is the limit of 3x minus 5 as x approaches 5? Okay? Di daw, sabi ng mga nag-comment sa iyong Facebook status. Di wow. Okay, let's see if you got it. So anyway, this is just a linear equation, no? Which is a non-constant linear equation. And to get the limit of a non-linear of a linear equation, I mean, at a certain value of x here. So all we have to do is replace the x with 5. So 3 times 5 minus 5 will actually give you 15 minus 5 or 10. Letter D. All right.
I go home now.
Let's proceed to 142. What is the limit of e raised to x minus 5 as x approaches 0? Is it -4, -5, 5, or 4? Take note po, it's e raised to x. I think in the paper, it's e raised to x. May I know po kung ano pong nakalagay sa paper nyo? EX po ba or e raised to x? EX. Okay, saglit po. Okay, so let's make it EX because that's in your paper. So if we do this by substitution again, take note that your EX, E here is actually your approximately 2.71828 and so on. But anyways, since x is equal to 0, x approaches 0, we will replace x by 0. And that's e times 0 minus 5. That's 0 minus 5, which is -5. Letter B. If you got it, be happy. Proud of you. Okay. 143. Evaluate the limit of x squared plus 4x plus 4 all over x squared minus 4 as x approaches -2. Did you go for 0, 4, 8, or undefined? I love you daw, letter A. Grabe siya. Okay, let's see if A is right. Mga kaguro. Ito po yung gagawin natin. If you could actually see, if you will replace directly all the x's by -2, you will actually get 0 over 0, which is an indeterminate form. So to remedy this, we could actually factor both numerator and denominator. That's why the x squared plus 4x plus 4 could be factored as x plus 2 times x plus 2, or simply x plus 2 quantity squared, all over the factor of your denominator, the factors of your denominator, which are x plus 2 and x minus 2. And of course, we will take the limit of this function as x approaches negative 2. However, we could see that x plus 2 is a common factor. So dividing them, we will actually have the limit of x plus 2 all over x minus 2 as x approaches negative 2. And this time, we will now replace all x's by negative 2. So negative 2 plus 2 all over negative 2 minus 2. That's actually 0 over negative 4, which is 0. Letter A. Let's proceed to 144. And remember as well, as suggested by Sir Jerome, we can also utilize L'Hopital's rule for this one. 144. Evaluate the limit of square root of x minus 4 all over x minus 16 as x approaches 16. Is it 0, 1, 8, 8, or undefined? Sir Chad, Sir Jason, Sir Crispin, Ma'am Nurse, Ma'am Jessa answered B, which is 1, 8. Kung inyo kung mapapansin ulit, no, if you will do direct substitution, the square root of 16 is 4. And 4 minus 4 will become 0. Magiging 0 po yung ating numerator. Yung ating denominator naman po ay magiging 16 minus 16, which is 0 din. So we have an indeterminate form. Sir Chad here is suggesting, no, if we could make x minus 16 as square root of x plus 4 times the square root of x minus 4. And this is actually correct po, Sir Chad. Pero marami din po tayong ways upang gawin ito. That is, iba po yata yung ginawa ko. I multiplied both numerator and denominator by the conjugate of square root of x minus 4. And that is, I multiplied by square root of x plus 4, both numerator and denominator. Take note po, iba-iba man po yung ginawa nating method, yung mahalaga naman po ay mapunta tayo sa tamang tao. I mean, sa tamang sagot. Okay. So with this, after this, no, I multiplied the numerators. The square root of x minus 4 times square root of x plus 4, it's actually x minus 16. At saka yung denominator natin, kinopya ko lang po. Because I could see, no, na pwede po natin i-divide yung x minus 16 to both numerator and denominator. That's why makukuha po ito. At ang matitira ay we will have the limit of 1 all over the square root of x plus 4 as x approaches 16. And here, substituting x by 16, we will have 1 all over the square root of 16, which is 4, by the way. Your denominator will simplify to 4 plus 4, and this whole expression is 1/8. Letter B. Yan. Okay. Tamang tao. Sige lang po. Push natin to. Calculator ang ginamit ng beshi mo. Tama din po yun. So congratulations. 145. Evaluate what's the limit of 1 over x. As x approaches, you might be asking, Sir, paano po basahin ko yung may 0 na parang may minus, say as? This is actually read as the limit of 1 over x as x approaches 0. Yung negative sign means from the left. Is it 0, infinity, negative infinity, or undefined? We have C coming from Sir Chad, Sir Crispin, Ma'am Nurse, and Sir Jason. Tama nga kaya yung negative infinity? O baka may tama yung mga sumagot ito? Char lang. Tama nga ba ito? Tignan po natin. Ito po yung graph niya. No? And if you could see po, excuse me po, di ba ito yung x natin na 0? Okay? So mula ka sa left, i-approach mo yung x na 0 from the right. And as you go to x equals 0, you could see that your graph, no, ay pababa ng pababa. In fact, you could continue this forever. And I'm sure you will not reach x equals 0. In fact, x equals 0 is not part of the domain, no? Because it's one of your asymptotes. It's your vertical asymptote. That's why pababa lang po siya ng pababa. And therefore, you will approach a very small number, negative infinity. In fact, be careful po. Infinity does not represent a number, but it's a way of telling us na you're approaching, the number becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and so. So letter C po yung ating tamang sagot dito. So sa lahat ng sumagot ng C, napaos ako. Char lang. C, you got it right. Spaghetti pababa. Okay, thank you po. I hope nakuha natin. May sabit, sir. Grabe siya. 146. What's the limit of 4x squared minus 5x as x approach all over x cubed plus 3x plus 1 as x approaches infinity? Did you go for negative 1/3, 0, 1/3, or 3? Okay, so you see, no? Meron tayong rational functions wherein both numerators and denominators are actually polynomials. Yung degree ng numerator natin ay 2, yung degree ng denominator natin ay 3. When I say degree, it's the largest exponent of your variable here. And so, yung gagawin po natin dito ay hahanapin natin yung tinatawag nating horizontal asymptotes, if any. No? And I do agree with Sir Chad, no? If the exponent of your denominator is greater than the exponent of your numerator, then the limit as x approaches infinity is actually 0. And nakikigaya lang ng sagot ang beshi mo. Grabe siya. Okay. And the technique po here is divide each term with the exponent, with a variable with the largest exponent. Ganito po. Yung pinakamataas na exponent ay 3. So, we divided each term by x cubed actually, no? Bawat term po dyan, dinivide natin ng x cubed. And the rest were copied. And when simplified, it becomes the limit of 4 over x minus 5 over x squared all over 1 plus 3 over x squared plus 1 over x cubed. At ito po yung maganda. Lahat ng may denominator na x ay, if you take the limit to infinity of that, will actually become 0. Why? Because as x becomes increasingly large, the value of 4 over x, for example, becomes so small that it's very near 0. That's why lahat ng may variable na x ay magiging 0. Lahat ng may denominator lahat pala ng expressions or terms dito, no? Bawat isa sa kanila na may variable sa denominator ay magiging 0 ang limit as x approaches infinity. So with such, it becomes 0 minus 0 all over 1 plus 0 plus 0. And of course, that's 0 over 1, or simply 0, letter B. So we are sure that if you will graph this function, it will actually have a horizontal asymptote at 0. Okay, and you cannot reach a y value of 0. 147. Find k so that f of x, this piecewise function f of x equals x squared minus 16 all over x minus 4. When x is not equal to 4, and k, if x is equal to 4, is continuous for all x. Did you go for 8, 4, 3, or 0? Let's see. Continuous siya, meaning, if possible, you could trace this graph, no? This function without lifting your pencil or your ball pen. Okay, ano kayang ginawa ng mga taong to? Letter A daw. Aha. For removing the point discontinuity, okay. So in this case, no, you could actually have a discontinuity here at x equals 4. Yes. However, dito kasi sa x squared minus 16 all over x minus 4, 4 is not part of your domain because if 4 is part of your domain here, then this is undefined, no? So that's why if you have this expression, the first one, you could actually factor it, the numerator, as x minus 4 times x plus 4, you still have over x minus 4. You could divide the x minus 4s, and this results to x plus 4. And sabi po ni Sir Chad, you evaluate x plus 4 at equals 4, at x equals 4. And I agree with that. Kasi, for this to be continuous, dapat yung value nito ay i-equate natin, no, sa k. But assuming that x is 4. That's why for this to be continuous, let x plus 4 be equal to your k when x is equal to 4. Then we have 4 plus 4 is equal to k. That means that k has to be 8. So if k is 8, even though meron kang point discontinuity dito, mapupunan pa rin yan when k is 8. That's why, yan po yung buhay natin minsan, no? Akala mo, discontinuous ka na. Pero darating yung isang taong magbibigay function upang maging continuous ka ulit. Ano daw? So letter A. K is equal to 8. Sure. 148. Find the limit of 1 over 3x squared as x approaches 0 from the left. Is it 0, infinity, negative infinity, or undefined? Letter B daw. All right. Let's see if you got it right. So to do this, no, it's better to graph it this way. This is the graph of 1 over 3x squared. But as we reach 0 from the left, divide to yung x equals 0. If you go from the left, meaning from the left, papunta ka sa right, di ba? Mula sa left, punta ka ng right. Yan po yung ibig sabihin ng from the left. So from here, as you reach x equals 0, pataas ng pataas yung spaghetti natin. I mean, the graph, no? So this is actually implying that this value of y increases indefinitely as x approaches 0 from the left. Hence, the correct answer is infinity, letter B. So lahat ng sumagot ng B, be happy po. Dahil magkatandem na si K at si X. Wala. Okay. 149. Find the limit of 1 over 3x squared. Ganun pa din. Pero this time, as x approaches 0 from the right, did you go for 0, infinity, negative infinity, or undefined? B pa rin yung sagot ng karamihan sa atin. Meron ding sumagot ng D, no? Which is undefined. Okay, let's see po. Take note, ha? As x approaches 0, may plus here, it means from the right. So from here, dito po si x equals 0, pero this time, galing ka naman sa right. From the right, of course, to the left. Dito siya eh. So papunta ka sa 0. So from here, as you make the value of x from the right going to 0, the value of y actually increases indefinitely again. That's why pataas ko lang siya ng pataas yung spaghetti. So the limit of 1 over 3x squared as x approaches 0 from the right is infinity again. Letter B. Okay, so far, magaling. Next po. 150. So ito naman, how about the limit of 1 over 3x squared as x approaches 0? So ito, wala na siyang plus or minus. Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, sabi ni Sir Chad, since even function, kaya nag-exist. Okay, B nga ba? So, B ang sagot ni Sir Chad, which is infinity, same with Sir Crispin, with Sir Jason, with Ma'am Nurse. And tingnan po natin, di ba meron tayong theorem? If you are approaching a certain value from the left and the right, and if they are approaching, no, in this case, they are approaching positive infinity towards the same direction. Dahil magkaparehas po yung ina-approach nila na positive infinity based on items 148 and 149. So actually, no, the limit exists. Thus, the limit of 1 over 3x squared as x approaches 0 is positive infinity. Fine. Letter B. So imagine mo yan, 148, 149, 150, D po yung sagot. Positive infinity. 150, I hope na nakuha po natin. Kung parehas po silang ina-approach ng positive infinity, limit exists, infinity. Kung parehas silang may parehas silang number, no, or let's say expression na ina-approach, okay then. Pero kapag yung isa leaning towards positive infinity, pero yung isa negative infinity, dahil magkaiba, so limit does not exist po yun. Gaya ng jowa mo, no? Does not exist. Joke lang po. 151. Which of the following is or are the conditions needed to say the function f of x is continuous at x is equal to a? Is it A, f of a is defined? B, the limit of f of x as x approaches a from the left and from the right exists? And it should be that the limit of f of x from the left and from the right is equal to f of a. You are saying 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, or 1, 2, and 3. For it to be continuous, tandaan po natin, dapat masatisfy niya lahat ng ito. So dapat define siya muna at any value of a, at a certain x equals a muna, I mean. At saka the left hand and right hand limits exist and they should be equal with your f of a. So letter D, lahat yun na po. Tama. Okay. 152. If f of x equals x squared minus 7x plus 5, what is f prime of 3? So f prime of 3 means the first derivative po, no? Or the slope at x equals 3. And to do that, a daw, negative 1, 0, 1, or 7, letter A. So to do this, let's get first the first derivative and we can use the power rule, no? The term by term power rule. The derivative of 2x, of x squared, I mean, is 2x. The derivative of negative 7x is negative 7. And of course, the 5 is a constant. And the derivative of a constant is in fact 0. Hence, ito po yung ating slope ng function or yung first derivative ng function natin. So sabi kasi, f prime of 3 eh. So at x equals 3, then it is 2 times 3 minus 7, which is actually negative 1. Letter A. All right. I hope you got it po. 133. The equation of the tangent line to the curve y equals x squared minus 4x at the point where the curve crosses the y-axis is. Did you go for A, B, C, or D? Which is which? Okay. Let's proceed to the answer. If you have this one, we're looking for the tangent line, no? The technique is, the first thing that you have to do is you have to get the first derivative of the function. And if you get the first derivative of your function, no? So, yung derivative ng x squared ay 2x. But first, if x is equal to 0 pala, then you will have the function, you will have the value of y as 0 squared minus 4 times 0, which tells us that y is 0. Therefore, sabi, based dito, if x is 0, y is 0, then the curve passes through the point 0, 0, or your origin. Okay? So, if you have this one now, we will get the first derivative no, ng y equals x squared minus 4x, which is y prime is equal to 2 times 1, di ba? 2. Tapos, bawasan yung exponent ng 1, maging 2x minus 4. So that's why ito po yung slope ninyo. No? Y prime equals 2x minus 4. However, at x equals 0, then we could see that your first derivative or your slope of your function is y prime is equal to 2 times 0 minus 4, and that y prime or your slope is now negative 4. So meron ka pong slope na negative 4 at meron ka ng line, and this line has a slope of negative 4 and it should pass through the point 0, 0. That's why by utilizing the point slope form, which is y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1, you use this form now to find the equation of a line given a point and a slope. By substitution, 0 is your x sub 1. This 0 here is now your y sub 1. And by substitution, you have y minus 4 equals negative 4 times the quantity x minus 0. And this simplifies to y equals negative 4x, letter B. That's the equation of your tangent line. Okay. Salamat po. All right. Okay. Let's proceed to 154. If y is equal to sine x cosine x, what is dy over dx? It's still the same thing as your first derivative. It's just that a different notation now. Is it cosine 2x, sine 2x, 1/2 cosine 2x, or 1/2 of sine 2x? Okay, we have at least 3 people. We have now 4 who answered letter A, cosine 2x daw. Tingnan po natin. So from here, y equals sine x times cosine x, there's actually a technique of multiplying both numerator and denominator by 2. Take note, multiplying both numerator and denominator by 2 does not change the equality. It maintains equality because 2 over 2 is still 1. Pero ginawa ko po ito, bakit? Dahil I am fully aware that 2 sine x cosine x by the Pythagorean identity, by the trigonometric identities, I'm sure this is actually 2 sine x cosine x is equal to sine 2x. Pero dahil may over 2 ka pa, syempre may 1/2 pa yan dito. And now, finding the derivative or your dy over dx, so I copy the 1/2. The derivative of sine 2x, the derivative of sine is cosine. That's why the derivative of sine 2x is cosine 2x. At dahil meron tayong composition of functions, kailangan din nating kunin yung derivative ng 2x, which is 2, by the way. And that's why we have 1/2 times cosine 2x times 2. However, mga kaguro, 1/2 times 2 is equal to 1. And 1 times cosine 2x is the same as cosine 2x. So sa lahat mo nang sumagot ng A, correct po. Cosine 2x. I'm sure iba po yung ginawa yung technique or method, yung mahalaga, naka-arrive po tayo sa tamang sagot. 155. Let's go now to integration. Let's integrate the 2x plus 3 dx as x approaches, as x goes from 1 to 5. C yung sagot. Okay? Tama nga kasi C o mali? Tama nga ba sila o nagkamali sila? So if you have this one, no? So we will do what we call term by term integration. Let's do it the manual formula muna. Or if you want, we can also do your calculators. Huh? That's why the integration of 2x, diba? You add 1 to the exponent. That's why naging 2x squared. Pero kung ano man yung exponent ng variable mo, ito din yung magiging denominator. That's why we have 2x squared all over 2 plus the integration of 3 is 3x. Nagkaroon ng variable na 1, yung exponent I mean. The variable x has an exponent of 1. That's why meron ding 1 dito. As x goes from 1 to 5. So 2x squared over 2 simplifies to 2x squared pa, I mean. So we have x squared plus 3x as x goes from 1 to 5. And by substitution, yung gagawin po natin, isa-substitute po natin yung upper limit na 5 sa x squared plus 3x. That's why you have 5 squared plus 3 times 5. Next, isa-substitute din po natin yung value ng 1 sa x squared plus 3x. That's why you have 1 squared plus 3 times 1. And after substituting them, you subtract their values. And using your calculators, the first set simplifies to 40. The next set here, the next group I mean, simplifies to 4. And that gives you 36, letter C. All right, so C for the hula. But correct po, Sir Jero. Congratulations din po. Tama. Okay, marami yata nakakuha ng letter C. 156. Let's integrate x sin x dx. Did you go for A, B, C, or D? Okay, sabi ni Sir Chad, IBP daw. Integrated Bank of the Philippines chart. And then IBP means integration by parts. And I agree with that. And tandaan po natin, by integration by parts, so we have f of x times g of x minus the integration of g of x times f prime of x dx. Or sa iba, no, IV versus v, minus the integration of VDU. Depende po sa kung ano yung ginagamit ninyong function or ginagamit ninyong mnemonics. So I let f of x to be the x. I let g of x to be the sin x. Okay. Exactly. Meron pong Caltech dito. Times negative cosine x. No? Bakit negative cosine x? Kasi kapag in-integrate mo si sin x, ito ay magiging negative cosine x. Minus the g of x, which is here, the negative cosine x, and the derivative of your, remember your f of x is x. Yung derivative ng x ay dx. So yan po yung itsura niya. That's why x times negative cosine x is negative x cosine x. Plus, minus, that's why naging plus integration of cosine x dx lang po yan. At saka, tandaan po natin, no, kung i-differentiate natin si sine, yung differentiation ni sine ay cosine. So kung i-integrate mo si cosine, syempre babalik siya kay sine. That's why we have here, but remember may plus C din po yan because we're talking about indefinite integral. That's negative x cosine x plus sine x plus C. Letter A. Yes. Sige lang po, laban po Ma'am MJ. Kaya po natin to. 157. What is the integration of x plus 2 quantity to the fifth dx? Tignan niyo po, saan po sa A, B, C at saka D ang sagot ninyo? B daw. X plus 2 quantity to the 6 all over 6 plus C. Puspusang review sa major? Yes po. Kaya po natin to. Let's see. Ito po yung nangyari. If you have the integration of x plus 2 to the fifth dx, you let this, what's inside the parentheses as your u. Let u equals x plus 2. At saka, kukunin mo po yung derivative both sides. So the derivative of u is du, and the derivative of x is 1. 1 dx or simply dx, and the derivative of 2 is of course 0. That's why du is equal to dx. That's why ito pong expression na to, yung x plus 2 naging u na, no? That's u to the fifth. And dx was substituted with du. That's why we have the integration of u to the fifth du. And by the power rule, you add 1 to the exponent. That's why u to raise to 5 plus 1. We have u raised to 6. At kung ano man po yung exponent ng variable, dapat doon din po ilalagay yung sa denominator. That's why we have 1/6 here. 1/6 u to the 6 plus c. But this is not yet our final answer because you don't forget to substitute the value for u back into the problem. Because the original problem is in terms of x, not u. That's why replacing u by its actual value, which is x plus 2, hence the integration is x plus 2 quantity to the sixth all over 6 plus c. Letter B. So far, we have at least how many people? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people at least who got the item right. Sige lang po, naiintindihan po natin. Ang mahalaga po sa atin ay lumalaban po tayo. Sabi nga nila, huwag kang iiwas pag nabibigo, dapat na lumaban ka. Push lang po. 158. Ito naman po tayo sa exciting part. Let's evaluate the integration of the square root of x minus 1 all over x dx. Letter C daw. May sumagot ng D. May C. Okay. Let's see. So in doing this, I hope we could still remember our trigonometric substitution. But if you don't like this trigonometric substitution, you could also use your calculator techniques. Okay, so probably magta-try kayong mag-let u equals x minus 1, which means x is equal to u plus 1. And of course, if you will differentiate yung both sides nito, magiging dx equals du. That's why yung itsura niya naging square root of u all over u plus 1 du, pero hindi siya madali. So dito, why not let u to be equal to the square root of x minus 1? So kung ano man po yung numerator nyo dito, sometimes ito yung mahirap eh. So yeah, you let that to be your u. And if you square both sides nito, ng u equals square root of x minus 1, if you square both sides and add 1 both sides, you could derive the equation x equals 1 plus u squared. And it turns out, if you will get the derivative of this, of x equals 1 plus u squared, you could confirm that du is equal to dx all over 2 square root of x minus 1. And by further manipulating the equation, you get dx equals 2u du. Okay? And of course, if you have this one now, you could have the integration of u all over 1 plus u squared, 2u du. Factoring out the 2, we'll have 2 integration of 1 minus 1 over 1 plus u squared du. And if you visit your table of integrals, it's just 2u minus 2 arctangent of u plus c. And substituting back the value of u, no, na square root of x minus 1, you get 2 square root of x minus 1 minus 2 arctangent of the square root of x minus 1 plus c. And that is letter C. Okay, letter C po. Okay. 159. What is square root of x? The integration of square root of x multiplied by the quantity 3 plus square root of x dx. B daw. Okay, Beshi. Tingnan po natin kung B ay tama. So it would be better siguro if you will distribute first the square root of x muna. So square root of x times 3 will be 3 square root of x plus square root of x times square root of x is just the square root of x squared, or simply let's have it x dx. And the square root of x, tandaan po natin ito, no? It means x raised to 1/2 po yan. I hope we can still remember the definition, no? And how to convert from fractional exponents to radicals and vice versa. And now, by the power rule, we will add 1/2 to the exponent. We will add 1 to the exponent. That's why we have here 3x raised to 1/2 plus 1. Pero dahil 1/2 plus 1 ang yung exponent ng x, dapat 1/2 plus 1 din yung denominator ng kabuuan dito. Plus, dito, yung integration naman ni x ay x raised to 1 plus 1 all over 1 plus 1. Pero wag po natin kalimutan dahil we are working with indefinite integrals, dapat may plus c. Simplifying further, 1/2 plus 1 is 3/2. So ito po yung itsura niya. So the other one here simplifies to x squared plus 2 all over 2. If you simplify this, if you divide by 3/2, it's the same thing, no? Remember, you will be multiplying by 2/3. And 2/3 times 3 will give you 2. Hence, if you answered B, which is 2x raised to 3/2 plus x squared all over 2 plus c, then we will have B as the correct answer. Okay. And one more for tonight. Integrate 3x squared square root of x cubed plus 1 as x approaches, goes from -1 to 1, I mean. Did you go for A, B, C, or D? Letter A daw. This one now entails substitution, no, sa ating integration. Kung titingnan mo, parang napaka-complicated, but actually, the technique here is let u, this one inside the parentheses, to be x cubed plus 1. If you have u equals x cubed plus 1, by getting the derivative both sides, which means du is u, the derivative of u is du, the derivative of x cubed is 3x squared, the derivative of 1 is just times dx, but the derivative of 1 is just 0. So it's just this one. And you could see from here po, that if u of -1 is 0, like this one po, bakit ganon? Meron po tayong change of variables. Dahil u equals x cubed plus 1, dito, -1, no? Yung lower limit. That's why change of variables, replace the x by -1. That's -1 cubed plus 1 will give you 0. And upper limit is 1. Replace here the x by 1. That means u of 1 cubed, which is 1, plus 1, it's 2. So that's why you change your limits. And this time, it becomes now, ito po, no, yung u mo, x cubed plus 1, but square root means u raised to 1/2 ito. The lower limit becomes 0, and the new upper limit is now 2. And with such, integration of this is u raised to 3/2 over 3/2. But if you divide by 3/2, it's the same thing when you multiply by 2/3. but your new limits are now 0 and 2. We don't need plus c if we are working with definite integrals. And so yung mangyayari, substitute mo si 2 sa function, that's 2/3 times 2 cubed, 2/3 times 2 raised to 3 halves, minus ito, 2/3 times 0 raised to 3 halves. Pero hindi ko na po inilagay. Bakit? Dahil 0 lang naman po ito kapag sinubstitute ng 0. That's why this simplifies to 2/3 times 2 square root of 2, or simply 4 square root of 2 over 3, letter A. I hope you got it. And that concludes our review for tonight. Thank you very much, and a great day to one and all.